You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, Barbell Logic family, Block fam. Welcome to Beast Over Burden. I'm your host, Nikki Sims. With me is Andrew Jackson. Hey, Andrew.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Really good. Really good. Had a good upper body day today. Feeling like my lats are huge, which is always just such a good feeling. You had a big gym day.
Yes. I was actually working on feeling my lats more in the bench today.
That's a good one.
Worked up to a new 5RM bench press PR.
Wah, 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 wah.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I did not feel great going into the gym. It was definitely a train curious kind of day. Like, still had some lingering fatigue and soreness from volume upper body day earlier in the week.
Which was a big one.
Yeah, it was 320 for 5x5 that was pretty easy. And then something else. I can't remember. Bunch of other reps.
You did, was it incline? Incline bench
Oh,
work?
yeah. 280 for 3x4 or 4x4 or something like that. Maybe that's probably actually why I'm sore. I don't think the flat bench was pretty easy. That was pretty mild, but the incline bench was basically max effort.
Nice.
So probably still sore from that. That's if I were to guess.
You're probably sore from racking the incline bench because remember your first two sets, it was like mega dicey.
Isometric hold, trying to get the bar back up. I didn't set the monoliths at the right height on the incline bench. Still trying to figure that out.
Yep.
So yeah, I had to isometrically hold 280 overhead until you could run over and help me get it back in the J cup. That could be a factor. But anyways, driving in and I was programmed for tying my 5RM from 2020. So this is almost 4 years ago, September of 2020.
And as a man who
and I have taken a couple of shots.
Never settles.
2 out of the last 3 weeks, I've tried for a 5RM and only got 4 reps at 162 and a half kilos. And so this week, my coach, Nick Hammer, programmed 5 at 160. I was like, I can't do it. I got to so I added half a kilo to each side and hit a very smooth 5RM.
It was very smooth. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I call stubborn training. But, a lot of time went into that. Sounds like it was just a really good day.
Yeah. Felt pretty good.
Awesome. Really good. When I was at the gym today, I ran into a friend who I used to do jujitsu with. My other friend, Richard, if you're listening, it was Jamie. I don't know if Jamie listens to this, but I know you do, Richard. So anyway, he was talking about how he was thinking about how cool it would be to get his squat back up. And then he started immediately comparing himself to some other guy who's lifting like 400 pounds. And I thought that was really interesting to all of a sudden just like create a deficit. And this is something you were just talking about. The phrase you used was limiting beliefs. And that's a really interesting obstacle that we use to hold ourselves back. What were your thoughts around that?
We've been working on defining our point of view. I think we've mentioned it a couple of times on the podcast, and we've spent some time writing things, that sort of inspire us. And I think a big part of our point of view is that not only do we think that PRs matter, and we think that's a great measure of strength and progress in your training, but we also see the benefit of training as it applies to how our self-perception changes over time. And as I was thinking more about that, it connects with, your example there with Jamie, that I remember when I first started lifting and would see other people who had been lifting for longer than I had, who were doing things that I didn't think were humanly possible at the time.
Yeah.
Not just for myself, but I was watching somebody casually warm up with a 330-pound squat, which I had maybe seen a handful of people squat over 300 pounds ever before in my life. So to see a relatively normal looking kind of dad figure.
Dad bod?
Yeah, I mean, he was just not even he wasn't a football player looking kind of person.
Right.
He was like a computer programmer at Microsoft or something, in
Yeah.
his probably mid 50s. Yeah, dad bod kind of dude who was just cruising through his warm-ups with 150 kilos and 330 pounds. And at that point in time, I was barely able to do maybe 100 kilos, 220 pounds for 3 sets of 5 or something like that. And so there was this breakdown. It was almost like complete reimagining of what was possible, not just physically, but then that kind of like starts to dissolve all kinds of limiting beliefs, or at least kind of perception about how things work or what your body's capable of. That's really what came up for me when I start thinking about that. The power of seeing yourself do things that you didn't think were not only humanly possible, let alone yourself.
And how do you think that's changed what you believe you're capable, or how do you think your perspective has evolved over time when it comes to what you think you're capable of?
I think I'm more curious. We've talked about training curious. I think I maybe even said that today. It was a train curious kind of day where I have a lot more open mind about what's possible, even on a tactical level, like driving into the gym today where I felt sore. I didn't feel really particularly motivated. I wasn't like fired up, like today's the day I'm going to go hit a 5RM. But I've done this long enough and enough times where sometimes it just happens. And today was another example in that book where the conditions that I thought would be required in order to hit a lifetime 5RM were not necessarily what I thought. I think that it's happened tactically, and then it's also happened with longer term goals. I can remember for a long time, my snatch and clean and jerk goals were 120 kilos and 140 kilos, just somewhat arbitrary, but it was just when I set that goal, I think I was snatching 100 kilos and clean and jerk was like 120 kilos. So this was adding 20 kilos to both lifts. And when I did that, I remember my coach saying, well, what do we do now? How about 140 kilo snatch, 160 kilo clean and jerk? And I just, again, it was another one of those moments where I was like, what? I just spent whatever it was, 2 or 3 years getting to numbers that I thought were impossible. And then immediately adding another 20 kilos to each lift seemed insane to me. But I thought, well, why not aim for that? And within 2 or 3, maybe it was 4 years, I can't remember how exactly long, it was probably closer to 3 or 4 years, I snatched 140 kilos and clean and jerked 160 kilos. So it doesn't happen indefinitely. Obviously, there's an end to that. But I think that has carried over not only to lifting, but in life in general, that I think that I challenge a lot of the assumptions that I have about what's possible and have more of an open mind that it might not be immediately clear on how I would get from point A to point B, but that creating that vision and being curious as to how you might go from A to B has enabled me to do a lot more than I ever thought was possible, not just in the weight room, but career-wise, personal relationship-wise. And I think that's been a powerful experience.
Yeah, that conversation you have with your coach stands out because I've noticed how like improvement in strength or in business, whatever, it's really, really helpful when it's collaborative. When you have even just a conversation with someone about what you want to do, what you want to be able to do, or when you hire someone or when you work with a team, because especially with a coach, like they often have a really good ability to see a really big picture. And they, based on their experience, they can see what you're capable of way before you can. And they're going to fight for it, sometimes harder than you will. And with work too, like being able to say things aloud that were limiting you, and then someone comes in with new perspective that allows you to just like pass that to the side. And I like how a coach or even training with a group of people can kind of create that space for you to not start dooming yourself to something that you may or may not ever do. But instead of deciding that you're never going to be able to do something, you create this moment where you do see that potential. And I think that's what your coach did for you. And it happened. And I think that's really freaking cool. Like before that, you never thought that it was going to be possible. And then you've done it. And yeah, like that was an idea and now it's your past. And that's like really freaking special.
Yeah. And I get to do that with my clients all the time now. I have clients that have signed up. It tends to be the ones, in the first year or so seems to be where that transformation happens. You unlock that a lot of those limiting beliefs after you hit, once you add 50 to 100 pounds to your squat in the first year or something along those lines, that you start getting more ambitious, and I think there's a little bit of a learning curve there where
a little greedy.
You get the first 100 pounds and then it seems like, well, anything's possible. And that's where the shoulding can start to creep in as you enter your kind of intermediate phase, which I think it's important to have a coach at that phase also, because that's when you need to start often reining people in.
Yeah.
Because the thing that worked for your first 50 to 100 pounds isn't going to just keep working for the next 50 to 100 pounds.
That's a tough pill to swallow. Yes.
You've got to spread the stress out a little bit more, allow your body to recover for a little bit longer, things along those lines. But yeah, I love getting to work with clients. I do find that it can be challenging with somebody remotely because you don't have that peer group, that environment I mentioned when I started out, where I was coming into the gym and I could see other people lifting. Or actually, I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast that I remember the first time I met Matt Reynolds, I saw him casually repping 405 on a fat bar bench. That was another mind-blowing moment for me, because there were very few people at that point that I knew who were squatting 405, and he was casually repping 405. And then I can remember seeing Tom Capitelli repping over 300 pounds in jeans during a lunch break. So those are really powerful, like in-person moments. But when you have a remote client who's training at a commercial gym and the heaviest lift you might see is a 135 pound squat, it's a little bit harder of a sell.
Yeah.
But that's where I think the power of our coaching model comes in, because we focus on simple, hard, effective movements that challenge the lifter where they are. We meet the lifter where they're at, and we build a client-centered model or a client-centered program that's based on our model of lifting, but it enables them to break down that huge, long-range, limiting belief shattering goal into an incremental minimum effective dose step that's still hard, still challenging. They feel like they accomplished something after that session, and then they come back and add a little bit more weight and overcome another challenge. So they don't have to get lost or overwhelmed thinking about eating the elephant. They break it up into smaller bites.
It's a really good analogy. It's a weird one, but it is a good analogy.
That's the old corporate one.
Because you see the elephant, you're just like, nope, there's no way I'm gonna ever like deadlift 405. Like that would have been something which is like, I'm never going to do that. So why would I even try and deadlift 225?
Right.
Which is, that would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you miss out on the whole journey of everything that you gain from, deadlifting 225 and then 230 and then 235.
Yeah, I think most people have no idea what is possible for most people.
Yeah.
I hesitate. I don't want to throw out numbers because as soon as I throw out numbers, everybody's going to
create an expectation.
The pitchforks are coming out that, well, how come I'm not hitting such and such a number? And so I don't want to throw out specific numbers, but I don't think that most people have any concept of what the normal range of strength capabilities are for the average person.
Yeah.
It's much stronger than what I think most people perceive.
Yeah. Even when I was talking to Jamie today, he's like, yeah, and I'm just nowhere near what that guy's squatting. And I was like, it doesn't matter. I was even like, me or Andrew will coach you because you and I just like, we know we can make your squat more. Like we know it. Like we're 100% sure that you will squat more in 2 months than you are squatting today.
Right.
And like, you can do it. It's just more.
That's the other powerful experience, right? That's where I think it's also not about an absolute number, but you think about the multiplier effect. So if somebody's starting out squatting 100 pounds and then you add 100 pounds, it's not just that you added 100 pounds. They are literally 2 times as strong as they were.
Yeah, that's nuts.
When they started.
Yeah.
I think that's way more powerful than, okay, yeah, I hit a 5 RM today, but it was 1 kilo, 2.2 pounds heavier than my 5 RM 4 years ago. Like, okay, cool. There's some things to celebrate there. But in terms of the impact on my life, significantly less than the person that 2x'd their squat or 3x'd their deadlift.
Yeah, that's huge.
That changes your beliefs.
Yeah. We did that campaign, I think, in January, where, we made the stance. It was like, our offer was come work with us for 6 months. And if you don't get like markedly stronger, we'll give you your money back. And I still stand by that. Like, what you will gain in 6 months, you will have to work really hard to undo, actually. And it's worth that 6-month investment. Even if like the changes to your strength look not as significant later on, like you just said, that first 6 months is enough to be life-changing. It's always worth it.
I think it's a tough sell because most people by this point in their life, which most of our clients are solidly middle-aged plus or minus 10, 15 years, we'll call it, they've probably tried some kind of fitness program.
Yeah.
Some sort of template, some sort of diet, some sort of boot camp, or maybe they've done CrossFit, or maybe they've even lifted weights a little bit.
Peloton.
But because they're a usually general program that's not specific to that individual's current state or their needs, maybe it's not hard enough. Maybe it's too hard. That happens too. Maybe it's too many exercises. Maybe it's not enough exercises. Each individual is going to need something a little bit different. We use a pretty standardized starting point to evaluate where somebody's at, but it very quickly becomes totally customized to where that individual is and then builds from there. So it can be a tough sell because maybe somebody's done a program for 6 months and got no results. Or maybe they tried some diet and it just feels like they get on and off and crash and burn. And what we do is different. It's solely focused on the individual, their needs and their goals, and kind of enabling them to incrementally, with that minimum effective dose approach, using simple, hard, effective movements, kind of shatter what their current self-image is or whatever their doubts are or whatever they think they are or are not capable of. And we kind of navigate them through their journey of discovering what they're actually capable of. That's what's really cool about it.
I've been chewing on this myself, but now I'm curious what it would be for you. I've been wanting to take on some more clients, but I wanted to really articulate the type of clients who I'm looking for, which kind of came down to the type of things I want to help people do. So, clients who want to improve their squat, who want to develop consistency. What would be like if you could describe what type of client you would want to work with right now? What things come to mind for you for like build a client?
The clients that I have enjoyed working with the most are people who want to change. They're interested in working hard, but they don't want to waste their time, and they're not sure exactly what to do or what they're capable of. So they've got sort of this pent up energy that feels stuck. And there's something in the back of their mind that says they could be more. There could be whether it's a stronger version of themselves or a more powerful version of themselves. And they're looking for help getting out of where they're at right now, or where they're getting out of the feeling like they're not sure what to do. So that can be really frustrating being in that state, because you've got all this energy, but it's not feeling productive.
Yeah.
That can be really demoralizing. You start to question whether there's something wrong with you, although I'm not saying I want that, but I hear that a lot, that somebody who's feeling stuck, and then we have a chance to work together and they're kind of unstuck and able to move forward. Those are really, I think, interesting people to work with. How about you?
Well, just what you were just saying. I remember when we were doing the interview for the Viewpoint television show that's going to be out soon, there was a question they asked, and I can't remember what it was. It was like, why barbell logic or something like that. And it was that exact emotion, like that emotion that I've experienced before of like, I want this. I am ready to work for it. I have the financial resources. How in the world can I find the person or the mechanism to help me be able to do it? And you can feel, like I can feel it now, like that, like you just said, the pent up energy, like the willingness, the ability, but not like the knowledge, So to be able to find someone who's like, I got you, like, come with me. This is exactly what you're going to do. You will be that person that you're envisioning for yourself. Like, I freaking love that. I love that we get to do that for Barbell Logic, because like someone in Florida will get to work with you, even though like when that may not have been an option before. It's like, I know there's someone just sitting at their computer researching like how to squat 405 and, how to build muscle and lose weight. And I'm a professional strength executive or I'm a professional, I need a strength executive. And like, that'd be you, Andrew Jackson. I don't know. I just love that exists.
Yeah.
I think mine right now is someone who has noticed that they're not consistent in their training. The problem I really like to solve is like, how do we make real training fit into your life? Like for someone who travels, for someone who is busy with a family, or like someone who's just kind of all over the place. I like to find and help someone find like a very consistent training existence, where it's not like on for 3 months, off for 2 months. It's just like you lift, you are a lifter. Let's build out what that means for you, because that also means I get to help someone build muscle. And like, I just, I want people to know that they can put more muscle on their skeleton, and it's a long journey. And so I want to like work with someone on what that actually feels like to work hard enough to build muscle, and then to live in that state where just having muscle is something that you do. And it's like the life that you get to lead as someone who has a lot of muscle on their skeleton. And I think that's a really fun journey. So yeah, wanting to find someone who wants to learn how to lift consistently, no matter what the rest of their life is throwing at them, and like to build muscle. Like, let's put muscle onto your skeleton. I want you to look and act like someone who lifts.
I've had a couple of clients. I don't know if it's because strength is becoming more of a mainstream priority, or muscle mass is becoming more in the conversation in health and medicine and
big time
fitness, and not from a bodybuilder or like beach body kind of perspective.
Yeah, it's not like a men's health fitness kind of thing. It's not like abs in 5 days. It's
no.
It's like savings.
Yes. I've had multiple clients now in the last year sign up saying, I want to learn how to train into my 80s, or I want to learn how to build muscles so that I can be strong and play with my kids, my grandkids, in 30 or 40 years. So they're people who are not looking to just come and add 100 pounds to their squat. Yeah, they see that and recognize that as a metric.
And they probably will.
And they do. And they get excited about PRs and stuff. But I've noticed that I'm getting more people who are interested, even when that stops or when they hit a different season in their life, that they see part of the value of what I'm doing for them is helping them. Okay, we've done that. You've helped me do the initial 200, 300 pounds. Now I'm also interested in getting value from how I go through having my third kid, or training while I move, or training while I'm traveling, like you said. And those are all sort of different skill sets from the bat belt of coaching that I think we've developed over the years, having done this for so long. But certainly I think the remote coaching service and a huge value of it, we wouldn't have been able to learn if we were only in gyms, because a lot of those situations, those were clients that just left. Like, you never had to deal with the client that couldn't come to the gym and work with you because they were traveling 6 months out of the year. They just wouldn't continue the service. So a lot of this is all, I think, specialized knowledge and experience that we've developed from having done that now through COVID and 7 years of coaching online.
Yeah.
A whole nother value proposition, I think.
Yeah, people want to lift for the long haul, and we want to coach for the long haul, and we have to figure out how to make both work.
Yeah. I mean, we've done a couple of different podcasts on, specific examples of that, but it's really cool that people want that.
Yeah.
Explicitly.
It's become really loud lately.
Almost never am I getting clients signing up saying, I want to go compete in a powerlifting meet by November. It's, I want to learn how to keep training so that I can build muscle, or
in 10 years.
Yeah. Or just incorporate strength training into my life through all the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Which is another limiting belief. I think that I've helped several clients change their perspective on that. Oh, going from feeling like I can only get value out of my strength training program if I'm doing the big 4, 3 days a week.
And competing twice a year.
And hitting PRs all the time. They're enjoying the process of training, even if they're not hitting PRs and winning their medal at the local competition.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. I love that. Well, I hope whoever you are, who you're listening, I'm curious if you can challenge your limiting beliefs, what those might be, and just even be able to notice if you have any, because there's a lot of barriers you can remove for yourself just by thinking. And you actually start to be able to do a lot more. But thanks for sharing all that, Andrew. It's made me feel even more fired up about coaching. And congrats on your bench press PR.
Thank you.
1 kilo is awesome. You worked really hard for that.
1 kilo at a time. I'll take it.
Yes. Love it. Well, thank you so much for listening. We hope you got some value out of this. If you did, we'd love a share. We'd love a review. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you back here next week, next Tuesday at Beast Over Burden. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.